All right. Peace, family. Peace, family. I want to thank everybody for being patient. Thank everybody for being patient. Got a special show tonight. Just want to make sure I sent this to my community app. Yes, I did. All right, got a special show tonight, family. Y'all in for a special treat. Um, you got to understand the times we live in and how important it is to really. I did a show earlier. I don't know if you've seen it, Dr. B or Rod Hayes. I did a show for about 15 minutes by myself just to announce this show and let people know how serious, just the ESP and everything around us is right now. Rod, I told the people. Right, I said, and I was giving them examples of everybody I'm talking to. Their ESP is on the max right now, and I'm like, yo, man, I talked to Rod Hayes. Rod Hayes, like, yo, man, you just ran by my mind, and I'm like, that happened because I was just talking to Dr. B about Rod Hayes. So for whatever's happening in this invisible quantum field, Rod Hayes he feels that connection of us talking about him because I'm like, what I said, Dr. B, I'm like, oh, you ever heard of Rod Hayes? I'm like, man, the brother's awesome, man. He's like, yeah, I heard of the brother, da, 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 da. So whatever we was talking about the brother about, this brother picked up on, and when I called him, he was like, yo, you just ran by my mind. Family, it's going down big. I'm seeing this from everybody at a rate that I've never seen before. People that are dead and people that are conscious. So yeah, the energy is extremely high right now, family. We're gonna have a good show. Let me get to a few commercials. And we're going to be right back. We're going in tonight. And we might have a special treat for y'all tonight, too. So hit the like button, share the video, get comfortable. We're going in tonight. It's going to be awesome. All right? Be right back.
Hey there. Had a bad dream? I have dreams, too. Some parts are scary and some parts are fun. Always remind yourself, it's only a dream and everything will be okay. I had a dream about being in a forest, too. Check it out, my pet Petey was with me. Order your copy of Kayla Petey and the Forest on Amazon today.
Brooklyn, New York, are you ready? August 27th, King Simon will be there. Etoy Hairston will be there. Alison Nedra will be there. Lloyd Strayhorn will be there with special guests. Sister Capunia Ife will be there. All happening at Nicholas Brooklyn Mini Workshop. Text now, call now to be there. Hey, this is King Simon, the international numero beta. Remember, get all my books on Amazon or go to Linktree/King Simon, the numero beta. And remember, don't forget to book my sessions at 347-496-1022. Book now.
All right. Damn, we booming today in the chat room. Damn, we got 1,500 people already. The chat is booming. All right. I'm glad y'all ready for this live. This is going to be a real exciting one. Listen, family, we all know about this technology called meditation, where we're able to tap in and we're able to slow our brain waves down, and we're able to you go into that data state and we receive information and we communicate with our higher selves and whatnot. But there's also a technology that I feel is gonna get more and more popular, and that is grounding. And a lot of us know about grounding, but we're going to get real advanced tonight on what grounding is. For those that don't know, there's going to be a lot of people that see this video that don't know the benefits of grounding. And some of you do know and still won't do it because you're not inspired yet. So some of y'all are going to get inspired to do the grounding. But it's very vital and very important right now for us to start to ground and tap into that technology of the earth being a battery and whatnot. So yeah, I just got all the years I've been conscious. Real quick, the person who really stressed grounding to me was the brother KT, the arts degree. When my queen was pregnant, he kept mentioning grounding. I'm like, why does this brother keep mentioning grounding? So that made me really want to know about what grounding is, and I just see the importance of it more and more. So it's going to be a great show, family. Dr. B and Rod Hayes. Let me read this little brief article, and then I'm going to allow y'all to give a brief introduction about grounding to our people. So let me read this. This is from Deepak Chopra's website. All right. And it's called Grounding the Human Body, the Healing Benefits of Earthing. That's another name for grounding. I'll jump around a little. I won't read the whole thing. All right. The earth is like a gigantic battery that contains a natural, subtle electric charge, a special kind of energy present in the ground. For safety and stability, most everything in the electrical world is connected to it, whether it is an electric power plant or your refrigerator. That's what the term grounded means. Being grounded also applies to people. When you are electrically grounded, you feel centered, solid, strong, balanced, less tense, less stressed. Let me read this. You are a bioelectrical being living on an electrical planet. Your body operates electrically. All of your cells transmit multiple frequencies that run, for example, your heart, immune system, muscles, and nervous system. With the exceptions of humans living in industrialized societies, all of the things on our planet are connected to the ground's electric energy. In industrialized societies, we rarely go barefoot and walk around outside or wear natural leather shoes that allow you to absorb the ground's energy. For many decades, people have increasingly been wearing rubber and plastic soled shoes that act as a barrier to the earth's energy, insulating them from electrical contact with the earth. People also generally don't sleep on the ground anymore, as many cultures have done throughout history. They live and work above the ground, even far above the ground in high rises. The truth is, you're disconnected, you're ungrounded, you're not in touch with the earth. Could this disconnection be an overlooked factor in the increase of illnesses noted earlier? And I ended there because they're going to talk about how grounding can help heal. But that's something that I'm sure these brothers will touch on. This is like a forgotten practice, brothers. This is something that the majority of our people don't do. This is something that, you know, we look at. If we see a nigga with no shoes on outside, we gonna say that nigga crazy. Why? We think of that as like white people shit. You ain't got no shoes on, you laying in the grass. We like, oh, that nigga dirty, shit crawling all over him. So a lot of our people don't really get into the practice of grounding, but we understand that this is technology, this is an avatar, this is our quantum computer, whatever you want to call it. Rod Hayes, Dr. B Serious. Let's start out with, let's talk about the science of grounding and why it's so important for who we are in this realm. I guess, Rod, you can start this out.
Well, before we get into that, can I take care of some of Big Mama business first?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
Yes. Dr. B Serious, what part of the land you from?
Okay. I originally my body was birthed in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm. Do you know your ancestry?
Yes, I do.
Do in your ancestry, do you have Choctaw and Gullah?
I have Crete, and I have most of the tribes, a mixture of most of the tribes in the Georgia, Florida area, South Carolina.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Okay, the reason why I asked you that, because the energy signature that I picked up when I first see it, you said that you was a Choctaw Gullah high priest from the land with an electromagnetic connection to the southeastern region. And when you said Connecticut, I thought I was wrong.
Well, that's because the people, see, even though they may have had me up north, my people all came from the south. You see, so
that's a lot of us. My people came from Mississippi, went to Chicago, and then we left Chicago and came to Michigan.
Yeah,
right. So we traveled the land and we scattered the land because the chiefs and the priests, and because we was fighting the Conjure War. So we have to traverse the land in a very specific manner in order to advance. So I had to acknowledge the priests when I see them in front of the people, so the people will know that this is some higher information. And Big Mama got my attention right here behind me when I first made the connection on the call, right? And she drew my attention to her, and her basket was facing him. He was up above and to the right, like he is now on my screen. I don't know where he had on anybody else's screen, but he's right over her basket. So the connection that me and him is making is a grounding effect from the political family leadership to the spiritual family leadership and how we are tied to the earth. So I had to acknowledge him in public as a high priest, and I had to call his bloodline out. Where's his geography from? And that's why I said, when he said Connecticut, I thought I was wrong, because I was seeing southeastern portion of the land, Florida, Georgia, that Arkansas type up in there, and they were saying that he was a Choctaw Gullah, blood dominant high priest on the land. Right. So I have to make it the acknowledgement in order to activate the energy that comes with this whole process, because this is also part of grounding. So what we're doing now is taking the spiritual information and we grounding it by discussing it in the 3D world. Right. So when you get to grounding at its source, it's when you have an electrical current running through an ungrounded wire, it's unstable. It's erratic. It's always moving, oscillating. But as soon as you ground it, the focus of the electromagnetic field becomes more concentrated and controllable. In the human body, we generate electricity. A brain is running on electricity, central nervous system, electricity. And the electricity is operating in a field that's a magnetic field, which makes us become electromagnetic beings. And the electromagnetic being have to periodically ground, or the arcing that takes place in the body that's not grounded causes what we know in modern medicine as free radicals in the blood. What that is when your DNA divide and then come back together, pieces get broke off, and you need amino acids in your diet to patch it. Well, we don't know nothing about that shit in the hood. We eating chicken and we ain't thinking about no amino acids. We definitely not thinking about superfoods and the benefits of any of the nutritional things that can bring the body back to stasis. The earth is the perfect grounding instrument, because the field that the earth surrounds the earth puts pressure from upper atmosphere to the core of the earth. We in the middle of that. So when we in the middle of it, if we don't ground properly, we have all of this arcing, rogue electrical current shooting through our brain and central nervous system. So when we start trying to attain what they call higher knowledge, it causes the arcing. We end up having strokes, especially those with the lesser quantities of melanin, or they'll end up with a condition like Stephen Hawking. If you go look at his case, his brain was firing so fast that it caused his muscles to stop cooperating with the body. They couldn't keep up. He was on the row team in college, physically fit, athletic, but his devotion was to strictly academics, left brain pursuit, and he was never grounding to arc the right brain. So he was only coming from left brain linear logic to a high degree, which was in essence dragging his right brain behind, which caused it to have all of those electromagnetic interferences in his brain, in his neural cortex. That's what broke his body down. Us, we don't normally have the same problem. We got a different problem. We develop broken DNA chains that close in on themselves and begin to create mass or tumors. Right? That's if we ground, that arcing doesn't cause the interruption at the DNA level that keeps us from perceiving higher information. And we also learn from grounding when your right foot and your left foot both have a chakra under the bottom. Most of us don't know that. Those two chakras is designed to send an energy field from the earth itself up one leg, down through the whole body, and it comes all the way back around, and it tells Mother Earth what you need in order to ground out your DNA so that the free radicals don't mutate in the system. Right? And this is, you got to remember, the DNA is a crystalline amino acid complex at a microscopic level. So the grounding becomes instrumental for insulating the electromagnetic being so that the electricity is under control. So you know what we call addictive personality disorder, where a person's mind become so agitated that they can't wait to get the next cigarette and they shaking like this, right? That's because they are erratically firing electromagnetic currents through the nervous system, and they don't know what to do to balance it out. And the earth itself is part of who we are, right? Because we earth-born children of the stars. We stardust in the human body. And to ground to the earth is to tune in to the frequency of the earth. And to tune in to the frequency of the earth can then communicate with our bodies to aid in the healing process. That's all part of grounding. Greetings, Dr. Valentine. Good to see you here.
Peace to the elder.
Yes.
Hey, Doc. So we just started, Doc, and to start out with, I asked the gentleman. I read an article on grounding, and I asked the gentleman to give a brief description of what exactly grounding is. I feel like, you know, the meditation industry became big in the late 90s, early 2000s. I feel like grounding is getting ready to take off, and more people want to know about this thing called grounding on earth. And so I definitely want our community to become extremely familiar with this technology that we have to connect to the earth with our bare feet. The brother Rod just started. So I guess Dr. B, you could go next, then Dr. Valentine, since he just came in the building.
First of all, I'm honored to be in the presence of such powerful beings. It's good to see you again, Dr. Valentine. We go way back to the good life in LA. we used to be lecturing back to back. So it's good to see you again.
Same here.
But Brother Rod, since you did a little reading on me, I'm going to give you a little reading that's coming through.
Yes, sir.
Your people are Nubians. You're one of the original Nubian people of nobility, a builder. You're connected directly to source. So you're not studying information. You're a channel for information. It's just coming through. And that's who you are. That's what I'm reading. That's what they're saying at this particular time, that you are not a person who is working. Your thing is you're a channel. You're allowing energy to flow through you. And it's good to see that. And that's why, you know, I see your name is Rod. You see, so that rod is when we talk about electricity, we talk about the rods. You got the positive node and you got the negative node, or you got the anode, and you also have the cathode. So you got the positive and the negative creating alternating current at one time. Now, I had to say that because you went in on some of my stuff there, but
hey, bitch, I love these brothers, man.
Since Brother Richard started something here, you know, I be asking, why you want to start trouble, man? We trying to keep it. He says, no, let's take it off the track. So we going, let's go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I come from a background of music and electronics. Okay, so you know, I've been a record producer, a recording engineer, mastering engineer. I was building synthesizers back in the day for companies. And the whole thing was all about energy and being able to take energy and use it to create sound or to create frequency or to create flow, you see. And I went to electrical, I went to audio engineering school, not audio engineering, electronic school. And I went for I always tell people 2.5 weeks. Because they showed a chart on the wall of all the electrical, components, the transistor, the resistor, the diode, they showed all of those things. And I walked out of class and they said, well, where you going? I said, I'm done. I don't need to see anymore. As soon as I saw those symbols and understood how those symbols work, I didn't need a degree from them. Because, see, the symbols that we use for things usually tie to something real or an idea or something that somebody created, okay? Electronics was not created by man. This whole thing is an electrical. It's an orchestra. It's a musical. It's a musical instrument with many parts, and each of us are part of that instrumentation. That's why we have organs, and each organ vibrates to a certain frequency. We talk about being high vibration or low vibration, and a lot of times we don't really totally understand what that means. You see, because you couldn't live just on a high vibration. You need a low vibration, which is Mother Earth, which is the lowest vibration. That's ground. Without ground, you have nothing to stand on. So you could be high and be professing to be super conscious, right? But at the same time, we got to get down sometime into the earth. So when I saw the electrical circuits, the first thing I saw was that the male side, or the positive side of that circuit, was called an anode. It put out electricity. Then they had the cathode. The cathode didn't put out electricity. It was magnetic. It received a spark from the anode. I was like, whoa, okay, that's it. We don't need no more. I realized that we have, we are conductors. We're conducting energy, right? We're taking on a life force. And what happens is distortion pops up because of your belief system, because of the foods that we've eaten, because of the music that we've heard, because of the programming that has happened, because of all the things in our world which create an obstacle course, an obstacle course that's going to challenge you to get to where you like to go. In order to truly be successful, you have to be well grounded. Most people are not grounded because they're having an out-of-body experience. They're living in their head with all this intelligence. But the electrical flow says that we got to let energy out and we've got to let energy in. So the right side of the body is putting out energy because it's more considered what they consider male. The female side is the left side is taking energy in. When we put our feet on the earth, that right foot, that first step that most people take in the Western world, you take a right step, is sending out an electrical charge into the earth. And Brother Rod said there's chakras on the bottom of the feet. I'd like to say, well, we got soul on the bottom of our feet. You see, that's how you connect with the Great Mother. But first, you have to give her something. So when we make that first step, we're sending our charge into the earth. When we take that second step, we're picking up the message. And I want to say this, and I'm going to finish with this piece. I used to study with some people who were deep into like the churches and the cathedrals and things like that. And the brother said one day, he says, they've got the steeple on the top of the church. That's the positive node. It's sending the message, gathering the information from all the people and sending it out into the ethers, into the Akasha, into with the cosmos. Yeah. He said the only way that you could receive a message is if they have the exact same device underground, like the pyramids. You need both. You see? So a lot of times we're not connecting. We're asking for a message, asking to learn how to do something, but we're not connecting to the earth so that she can put out the resonant frequencies, right? So you could pick up the message. So your brain is going to be shorted out unless you are sending and receiving. We are transceivers, right? But we're receivers at the same time. So by grounding, we get in touch with the earth essence, and she gives us the message that may be coming from millions of miles away. So it's about sending and receiving instead of just you getting information, storing information. And after a while, you begin to have an implosion because there's not enough energy moving out because we're not doing as much. So grounding is one of those things that we can do naturally that we always did as children to keep us in a balanced state and to create homeostasis throughout the system.
Thank you, brother. Wow. Amazing. Whew. This show started off. Woo, man. Oh, man. Dr. Valentine, you want to add on to that before we move on?
I don't want to even touch that. No, I think this is exceptional because part of the healing that I used to recommend for women with problems, reproductive problems, is to change the quality of the underwear, number one. They were putting on these artificial fabrics that would impede the centripetal energies necessary to offset the centrifugal energies, because a woman's reproductive system being magnetic draws energy, which is why I tell men, especially if they're weak or they feel weak or anything, that they shouldn't spoon with a woman because she's actually taking energy unconsciously through her yoni. And unless he is strong, you'll find that he may have problems. So What I tell her to do if she has like fibroid tumors or if she's dealing with certain types of feminine illness, such as endometriosis and so forth, that she goes to a place where there is fresh earth. And I'm not talking about the earth that has been polluted with all types of pesticides and so forth. The earth that she has to sit on, barely, you just take a very thin cotton cloth and put it on the earth, and for her to sit naked on the cloth as comfortably as possible, preferably in a semi or full lotus, and to do certain breathing techniques that call the yoni or the yoni itself to start breathing and cause inhaling and breathing so that the electrostatic energies begin to normalize or to release the blockage of the flow that's in her womb that would have collected in a certain area as a fibroid tumor. That would usually, certain cysts and fibroids such as that accumulate in that area because of not only her habits, sexual eating habits and so forth, but because her thought process has created an impediment in the womb. Every time a woman has, say, for instance, a psychological trauma or her ego has been damaged in some way, the wound itself becomes the sounding board for that implosion, an implosive thought process. And a scar, a psychospiritual scar, an etheric scar is formed around the womb area that, should she continue the kind of thinking process and the kind of habits, that the body begins to defend itself by putting an enormous amount of fibrin, which is materials that the body creates in order to heal areas. So a woman with a fibroid has an inordinate amount of or collections of fibrin in that area because of the damage that her thoughts, her habits, her emotions has caused in that area. So sitting on fresh earth and helping to normalize the electromagnetic, electrostatic energies that are in that area normalizes the flow and brings more blood to the area so that more nurturing and healing blood ends up in that area. I just want to close by saying that grounding is good as us physiologically, and if you want to deal with the physiological components of grounding. But the first thing that has to happen is the brain and your thinking process, matter follows mind. That's the first thing we must understand. Matter follows mind. And because matter follows mind, the body is going to obey the mind, even though the elements around there wants to help the body, wants to normalize it. There may be impediments based upon certain thought processes that have accumulated in the index of one's memory bank, if you understand what I mean. And the habit or the proclivity towards self-judgment creates certain conditions that impede what nature wants to heal. So grounding first has to take place by an inventory of specific thought processes that that contribute to the short circuiting of that natural flow that Nature Mother gives you. The fact that we don't walk barefoot on earth anymore is also that impediment. The fact that we have rubber as our soles and we walk through certain areas with rubber on our soles. Rubber is not a very good conductor. It's a good insulator in certain areas, or certain things that we have in our feet tend to impede that natural collection or that natural connection we have to earth. So the first thing I would say is that, yes, there are mechanical things that essentially contribute to the grounding. But if we do not ground as above, as below, if we do not ground above as we are grounding below, then whatever it is that nature has to offer becomes a gift that is lost.
Indeed. So once again, I want everybody that just came in, I want to thank everybody for joining us. We got almost 4,000 people in the chat. We had a nice surprise. Dr. Valentine joined us. Y'all didn't know Dr. Valentine was short. That was the surprise tonight. I know y'all would enjoy it. Make sure you share the video, and make sure you hit the like button. That's very important, family. Make sure y'all hit the like button. That's very important. I want to ask y'all. So there's this science that we have, since we're talking about grinding these advanced sciences, there's a science where when we want to manifest something and we're drinking water, like let's say this was a clear bottle. I don't have a clear bottle of water. Well, okay, I do have a clear bottle of water. So let's say I got this water. You got water? Yeah, everybody got the water. Okay. So, and I want to manifest something. They say since we're majority water, you write what you want to manifest and you can put it on a water bottle and you drink it, and it changes the molecular structure of the water that you're intaking. What I want to ask you is, since we're absorbing the negative ions from the earth in the dirt, what if I take that same thing and I write divine health or wealth and I stick it in the dirt and I ground in the earth? Now, would that have just as much of effect as it has with me drinking the water and the label on it? Or let's talk about that. Stick it right in your intentions and put in the dirt and grounding like that. What would that do, family?
Well,
go
ahead, Rob.
The water. Oh, excuse me, Doc. Go ahead.
No, you got it.
Okay. Water is the physical simulation of spirit. When you see water in a dream, it's just telling you spiritual information. The earth is earth magic. The water is water magic. Fire is fire magic. Ether is ether magic, which is a whole different level that you got to get past the first 4 to even get to. When you talk about manifestation and charging water, it's because of the nature of water itself. Water don't argue with you. It just be. Mm-hmm. It can be powerful enough to knock down a concrete structure, and it can be soft enough to wash a baby's bottom. Water is its own entity, but it carries a current and a frequency that the human psyche affects. Our psyche affects the water. That demonstration you gave, you take the water, whatever you write on that water, and the more people read what you wrote, the stronger the water can manifest what you written on the water, because everybody that read it looks at the water and say, oh, and they give it energy. So it becomes a vessel of accumulated energy in the molecular structure of anything that holds a foreign energy has to change. So you can actually monitor water, and it's faster. Earth magic, putting the what we call the notes in the dirt, that's a different form of magic, and its manifestation takes different properties. So now we talking metaphysics in relation to bringing about thought forms into the physical world. The fact that you writing it is also part of, you just brought it out of the 5D and put it into 2D. So you already 50% of the way of making it into the 3D, because you came from above and below and brought the energy to a convergence in the 3D already by writing it down, right? And by writing it down, the mind now has produced the first seed of manifestation in the 3D world. So the earth magic does work similar but different. It's like you could use an axe to chop down a tree, or you could use a saw. They perform the same job using a different method.
Indeed. Okay.
I'd like to say that, first of all, the language that we speak is not a natural language. And most of the words that we use, we don't even really know the root of those words. It's the way we speak. You know what I'm saying? So you could write something, But what that word really means, you know, what is the essence of it? Not just what is the etymology of it or what the dictionary says. Those words can be confusing. So what I say is, let's go past the writing. Let's get direct. Water is a living crystal, right? Especially if it's moving. If the water is moving, then it is living. And when it's still, it doesn't have the current like it does in the natural flow of a spring. Once you get your mind, and Dr. Phil touched on this, once you have your mind focused on your goal, and instead of seeing the goal, because your eyes have been getting photoshopped since the beginning too, really your eyes are getting tricked, right? If you can feel what it is you desire, see, feeling trumps thinking, even writing. If you could feel the goal that you would like to achieve, you hold the water in your hand. Just close your eyes and imagine you're feeling your desire. We cut past language. We cut past all of that. And you are now energetically putting that water in your right hand. You're energetically sending the waves of your feelings into the water. So if it's love, and here's another thing. A lot of people have these, folks come and they say, well, Dr. B, I got these mantras and these affirmations. And I said, well, what are they? And they go on and on and on for 3-4 paragraphs. I said, see, if we could break it down to simplicity, something that is so basic that a little child could know what you mean by this. And let's just work on that. Hold your water, charge your water by having that one thought. Now, this water I'm drinking happens to be really good water. It has good energy from where it comes from. But the average water, you're going to write on the water, probably already got writing on it. What is it? They're talking about what it is, where it's from, who made it, how many ounces. You see? So that's why I said, unless you can get a clear glass jar and write, but go further than writing, feel yourself in the place that you desire. Even telling the water, because the water, right? Usually water doesn't even have the right makeup because they took it and filtered it and did a lot of things to it, right? So it's got to have potassium. It's got to have the right amount of sodium. It's got to have the right amount of calcium so that it is charged like the ocean. That's why our cells are not receiving the water, even though a lot of folks are drinking a gallon a day, still, dehydrated, because the water has to be charged, because the opening in your cell that receives the water it looks like a snowflake, like the 6-pointed star. And when water is charged at its highest vibration or its best vibration, it's going to have a 6-pointed star shaped like a snowflake too, and it goes right into the cells. So you could drink 10 gallons of water and maybe not even get enough of that water. You're just peeing it out. So once you have really good crystallized water, which to me, in my science, we say spring water in glass. It's been in glass, you see, and then you're going to charge it with your idea or your thought, and you make it simple, but feel it as if it's happened now. Now what happens is the universe begins to respond because you've sent a message out that's traveling 770 billion miles per second through the galaxy. And it's going to come back to you because, things always come back to their creator. You're creating an idea. But a lot of times what we think we want, what we desire, all of those things, those words get funny. You see, so once we get clear in our languaging, and this is one of the things I teach, is to have language that is direct language. It's very simple. So if you're going to try to create manifestation, you can't say, well, I want. Want is basically like the desire without action. So if you're wanting things and you're charging your water with wants, it's diving. Want. You see, desire is the next vibration, but I say our highest vibration in my studies is allow. What are you allowing? Because it's all in you. We're all made of energy. Everything is basically the same. What did Donny Hathaway say? Everything is everything, but it's how it's arranged. But the greatest challenge, before you even get to the grounding, as Dr. Phil said, is your mindset. You could desire all kinds of things, but there's so much garbage, so many thoughts and feelings and scar tissue and, just in the mindset, what I call mental parasites. Once we begin to clear all those things up, then we begin to travel on those waves, and that water that you're drinking and the ground that you're standing on now has a very clear representation of your true basic desires.
Dr. Valentine, you want to close that out?
At our university, we teach that there are 4 foundational elements that constitute what we call third density creation. The consolidation and the pressurized zone that we call third density or the third dimension. Under that pressurized zone, we know that the biblical reference to in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, is essentially nothing more than, things that were stolen from the Pert and Meru of ancient Kemet. Now we say that the Word, the W-O-R-D, is the fire, air, water, and earth. That constitutes the W-O-R-D of God. That spoken energy is resonating through us, through different parts of our body that are constituted of these 4 elements. The 5th element is not just ether. Ether is actually the medium or the nexus to time. So the 5th element to us in our school is time, because without time, the third density pulse would not have a place for manifestation. It would not have been able to set up the resistance necessary for it to be, because third density represents resistance from the call of the One Most High. Because if that was the case, there would be no creation, quote unquote, as we call it. There is only condensation. So in condensation, we know that all 4 elements run through our mind and through our hearts, through our bodies. As the good doctor said, the blood in our bodies and what we are constituted of is liquid crystal. So blood is conditioned and qualified liquid crystal. It is the conduit for desire and for feeling. So if you want to actually take words and use them, as he said, the meaning of the words doesn't matter. What we teach, it doesn't matter the language. It is the intention based upon the understanding and overstanding conveyed through whatever language is necessary. There were 4 great languages, which is Medu Neter and what became the Kumedu, what we call Hebrew. I call it the Kumedu, or the fire language. So when you're dealing with the use of one of these elements, the earth element is the fundamental last stop for the condensation of all 4 elements, starting with fire, air, and water. That which is consolidated in the earth then becomes a place where each one of those previous 3 elements can root themselves so that all life becomes. If you want to use words to activate the energy so that you can convey it or have it broadcast out, you still have to add all 3 of the other elements to actually constitute the word itself. So you can't just put your words in. You have to put your words in based upon the qualification of the water. So you can speak your affirmation into the water, and that's distilled water, that is, because distilled water is unconditioned water. And you can actually condition it with your thoughts and your words. And that would take 3 days in the sun in order to charge it with the plasma necessary. And then you get into a dark place and you speak into that water in a place where your mind is clear and the intention is clear. And now what you do is you take that and you place that water in earth that is, there is a certain type of earth, black earth, that has the strongest magnetic charge, and you can get it. It's black earth, and I forgot the name of it. Forgive me, I can get it for you later on. But you place it in that earth, but you also have to place representations of fire and of the air. So what you are now broadcasting is a complete representation of the divine word as it becomes your word for manifestation.
So you're combining the elements, Doc. Fire. That's deep. Wow.
You cannot put them. You cannot just do it singularly.
I would have never thought of that. That's amazing. Wow.
They were never created like that. You are You are constituted of all four of these elements, and the timekeeper is your heart.
Okay. Amazing. That's why I'm glad I have all y'all on here. Amazing. Once again, family, we got over 4,000 people. Welcome. I want to say thank you for everybody who's in the chat. We got Dr. Valentine, Dr. Be Serious, and the brother Rod Hayes in the building. Amazing show. With we're discovering ourselves. We're rediscovering ourselves. We're remembering who we are. We're talking about grounding and other things as well. The question, hit the like button, family. Make sure you tell your friends and family that we are on live. This is better than anything you're going to get on TV, family. Trust me. Especially with the times we are in right now. This is what I want to ask you, gentlemen. Good question I got for you. All right. Check this out. So, Sadhguru. Yeah, go ahead.
Brother Rick.
Yes.
Before you get some, I wanted to touch on something that both of them said, because
please, yes.
I got a stickler for information, and when they say something that's important, I want the people to be able to catch it. So, Dr. B mentioned about the language and the words.
Yes.
What a lot of us don't know is alphabet, the alpha beta system of letters. We didn't used to use vocalized tones to talk, to communicate. We used telepathy. All of the words we using now are alchemically charged. Each letter is alchemically charged. The letter has a number attached to it. The letter has a color attached to it. It has a element attached to it. So all of the letters is carrying that data when you formulating words in any language on earth, because no matter what language it is, all of the alphabets was created by alchemists, and these alchemists charged every letter in order for them to actualize what's being said. And Dr. Valentine mentioned that speaking to the water, right? This is the authoritative utterance that they talk about in the Hosea, with the exceptional insight. This is the ability to put yourself in the void. When he said, go into the darkness and speak into the water, that's the simulation of first creation in modern times. When you simulate the first creation and you actualize the first word, it triggers a psychological Big Bang scenario. Right? So we talking about the words. When you go back, the Egyptians said that the author of the first alphabet was Tahuti himself. Right? And so he's the great alchemist. If he's the great alchemist and he's charged these letters, when we become familiar with the letters and then we put them in word combinations and become an understanding of the words, this is what you call learning to speak the power. Literally translating the modern English as the power. You speak the power, right? And that comes from two combinating forces, using your third eye crown chakra coming through the throat chakra, speaking from the heart. Now you can just align all four of your top chakras. And if you can be grounded, because we're talking about grounding, this is how you can jump the barrier of no pass, connecting your higher four chakras to your lower three chakras in the center middle pillar, right? All of this is relevant to the process of understanding how we're going to manifest. So what we actually doing, and I'm just looking at the play out in real time as this goes on, is we teaching indirectly how to manifest, right? Because part of manifestation is being properly grounded. Part of manifestation is having the proper grasp of the linguistics that you speak. Another part of the manifestation is knowing the structure and the format by which to use the words in order to speak these things into existence. And then you get to the point where you don't no longer need the aids, the water. You don't need the tarot cards no more. You be able to do it in real time without those crutches that we use. So low magic is what we call elemental magic, and that's using those elements that Dr. Valentine talked about. High magic is when you can do it from your upper 4 chakras as opposed to using the base elements in your lower 3 chakras, which is heavily based on the emotion. So this is why Dr. B say when you feel the sensation, this is the manifestation. So when you telling yourself, I want, the universe is hearing you say, I want something. So it's only going to give you a continuous, because this is what you're telling
something.
Right. Yeah, that's what you're telling it. So when you're saying I want, right, it's going to give you the experience in the 3D world of the longing for that which you do not have, because you want to know what it feels like to want or to desire or to crave a thing. Right? So all of that goes to grounding, because to help the mind balance itself, we have to learn how to tune in to the inner self through the chakra system, and all of that is critical to grounding. So these brothers is slapping home runs, and I'm counting up the data.
Yo, this is family. This is so powerful, and a lot of people don't realize you can manifest the frequency of wanting something. We think we either get it or we don't get it. There's everything has a frequency. You can literally manifest just continuing wanting, continuing wanting.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Right. A lot of people don't get that.
When he say you have to have the feeling, and you have to feel like it's already done. You have to feel like you already have that. You got to feel like, okay, you got to know what it feels like to be a billionaire. Yeah.
Rod, you breaking up. Rod, can you hear me? Rod, can you hear me? Rod Hayes, you breaking up, my brother. I need you to go out and come back in. Yeah, he's going to do that.
Well, if I can just follow through with him, what he's saying is correct. But we say desire rather than want, because the desire energy is already part of us. The desire is the masculine. That's the charge that puts it out there. And the feeling is the negative. So that's the masculine and feminine polarities that run through us. And they manifest in the blood as feeling and desire. So if you desire something and you call on it, there should be no impediments or doubts about what you affirm to be real. And when you say that I am going to get that, or I desire to have that, what you've done is create space between you and that goal. Because what you're doing is you're functioning from the place in time. When as he said, I already possess that, then you have bridged that gap. There's no longer that space that you've created by your perception. And so your perception of time sometimes impedes it and frustrates you from getting the desire that you wish, or the goals that you wish, because you've placed it there. Like people who meditate, for example, say, I want to go into a particular state of meditation so I can achieve nirvana. No, if you don't already have or perceive that you are nirvana, then you have already created distance between you and the thing you wish to achieve, which then creates time. And then you just fall right back into the karmic cycle that always traps us. Our brains and our thinking process, which is what we do because it helps us to navigate third density, our thinking process precludes or impedes what we have to get to. We have to suspend thought and access intelligence. There's a difference. When you access intelligence, you are now operating outside of the realm of time. When you try to achieve something using thought, you become trapped in time, because thought is time. So when you understand that say, for instance, you look at fire, air, water, and earth. Fire, you see fire manifested as the flame. You see air as you feel it, as the breeze, as the storm. Water you can actually touch as a liquid that flows. And earth you can scoop up with your hands. But people don't realize that thought itself, that time itself, which is the fifth element, expresses itself as thought. And most people don't understand what that means when the so-called creator breathed the breath of life into this creature. He breathed that mechanism that allows that mechanism to navigate third density, and that is the higher thought processes that we have. We can either free ourselves from it, or we can become trapped by our thoughts. And if that's the case, we will never achieve what we wish. We never, ever, ever, if we wish to definitely achieve something, ever plant the seed based upon our thoughts, because our thoughts are all polluted. We always must be outside of the realm of time and actually plant the seed outside of time so that we do not become trapped by time, therefore trap our desires in time.
Wow. Oh, man. Family, y'all don't know how much of a blessing it is to hear this from three different vantage points, three different angles, three different light codes speaking on the same thing. This is absolutely amazing. This show is already a classic. I'm so thankful to have you brothers on here. And I want to thank everybody for listening. We're going to continue. Before I ask the next question, I just want to read a quote that I heard Alan Watts saying. Y'all speaking, Dr. Valentine, Dr. B, and Rod Hayes. Y'all hearing me speak? Just made me think about this. Alan Watts said this back in the day. He said the number one reason why you don't know what you want is because you already have it. Then he said the second reason is because you don't know yourself. So we want things that we already have. And then we don't know who we are, so we want things. So it's an interesting dynamic that, and it's a loop that we go through that keeps us on a, what do you call that, on a mouse? What do you call that? That
treadmill.
Mouse thing? The treadmill, yeah. So it's very interesting, but I'm glad y'all. I'm just so happy to have had this show tonight, and we got a packed room. We got 4,500 people in the building. This is what I want to ask y'all next about grounding. Okay, so Sadhguru has this movement called Save the Soil. And we all know that the soil is being depleted of the minerals, is not the same. They're trying to, they got to make these apples and everything as fast as possible. They got to get the shit going. You know, people in New York want apples, people in Florida, people in Kansas, people in LA. So they got to do whatever they got to do to make this turnover as fast as possible and make this a business. So the soil's not what it was 1,000 years ago. Unfortunately, because of that, the apples ain't the same. Apple don't taste the same. Orange still tastes. None of this stuff tastes the same, and it don't have the same nutrients. I think they said one apple today is the equivalent. No. I think they said like 30 apples today. I might be exaggerating. Is the equivalent to one apple 100 years ago. But the point is that the soil is so crazy right now that we're not getting what we used to get when we're eating this so-called healthy food. So the question I want to ask y'all: when we ground, because the soil's eroded, if it's affecting the food, is it affecting us as well? If the apple ain't the same, what about our machinery, our human avatar? That's not the same as well when we ground, because when we ground and we put our feet in the dirt and the soil, we're not getting the same things that apple's not getting. So that apple's not the same. We're not the same. So is this a technology that is slowly expiring and it's not the same as it was 200 years ago when we talk about grounding?
The earth has been here for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
The human can do things to scar and scorch the surface of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Before the earth allow us to destroy it to a certain level, it will destroy humanity. Earth is a living organism. What you're talking about, they had a Senate Select Committee back in 1932 that had determined that the farmland had depleted soil, and if they didn't change the locations of the farms, that the nutrients that's in the food that's stimulated through the growth, through the fertilizers and the pesticides, that we would have to resort to supplementation in order to get the proper nutrition to the human body. Now, they don't replenish the soil. I'm going to show you how easy it is to replenish earth. Dead farmland, barren farmland, if you spread moringa on that same farmland, it will rejuvenate the soil itself. to grow properly nutritious food, just moringa. Moringa also is an electrically charged superfood. The counterbalance to that is called maca. Maca is a magnetically charged superfood. Both of these superfoods can take a person in 7 days from near-death malnutrition to functional, right? They are aware of this. They got the journals, they've wrote about it. But the thing about it is everything that you can think of in this system that we are under has been weaponized against us. So they don't care if they can create a GMO that'll artificially stimulate the growth to fill the stomach. They don't care about the nutritional balance in the being, because whoever it is running the show is very, very anti-human, because everything they do is deliberately weaponized to keep us in a less stupid state where we can't think outside of what they told us in read, write, and arithmetic, right? So when you look at the nutrition directly affects the thinking functions, the bodily functions. All of the cancers is based on the body being excessively acidic, and to take the body back to an alkaline state. That's also been proven by a guy named Otto Warburg back in the 1930s. All this stuff is nothing new. They've been knowing this for years. They doing it on purpose. What you said is absolutely right. If the apple ain't the same and we've been consuming the apple, we're not going to be the same. The only thing we can do is thank Big Mama Universe for making us adaptable so that we can figure out how to meet the threat and overcome the obstacle to continue to follow the path. Without that, we would be lost and we would lose. We can't lose this time, right? So we got means to restore the soils that's already natural to the earth. We got the means to restore the waters that they've polluted with the stuff that's already on the earth, that's from the earth. You don't need artificial man-made chemicals to clean none of this up. For every imbalance, Earth has a herb or a vegetation of some sort that'll cure that imbalance, right? And that's all goes to the grounding, because grounding also consists of proper nutrition. Because if you're not properly nourished, your attempts at grounding is going to not serve you as effectively as if you had proper nutrition. So that it's a system working with other systems in order for the systems to run in optimum performance. The human project that's taking place now, whatever experiment is being ran, is designed to undermine us at every turn. They are attacking our nutrition levels, which is sending us into the medical establishment to get pharmaceuticals to treat the imbalance in the bodies that's created by the lifestyle we live in, the places we work, and the education or the miseducation they've given us on purpose. None of this stuff is an accident. Dr. Neely Fuller said they control the 9 areas of people activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. I say it's 10 because they also using health to cause all of those other 9 to be undermined. Like, if you're not in the optimum state of health, you can't perform as an optimum being. So if you are going to be, as they call it in German, Uberman, right, the perfected man, right, then you got to reach a certain point where you know your nutrition have to be at a certain level, and you have to be certain amount of balance to the earth, sync to the earth. The earth is like even though we're not physically connected directly to the earth, we still have an energy field, a torsion field springing from our heart chakra that connected to the torsion field that is projected from the earth itself. So when Tahuti talk about an emerald tablet, cycles within cycles, he's talking about torsion fields inside torsion fields. This energy frequency that we trying to balance out, this divine Shakti, is the divine feminine that is chaotic energy if you're not balanced. But as soon as you become balanced, that energy, right brain, abstract logic, overrides your linear direct information. That abstract knowledge can tell you, you can look anywhere and gather information that the universe is telling you once you become aware of the balance in the two hemispheres of the brain. That's what they call the awakening. All it is a perfect state of balance or homeostasis. And homeostasis just doesn't mean free from cancer and broken legs. Doc?
You know, from our ministry here at Elevation Foundation, we look at artificial intelligence in a very special way. See, a lot of things that we think, right? We think of artificial intelligence as computers. No, artificial intelligence is the story that's been being told, and who's been telling it to you. You see, some of the things that we think these people are powerful in, and some of the things that we think they're doing to us, is an illusion. So if you believe it, right, then all of a sudden you're looking out and you've already lost the battle because you're focusing on something that you cannot control. See, there are things that you can control. If you focus on what you can control, what's right in front of you, you can expand that circle. So whatever they're doing to the farmland, why are we eating from that farmland anyway? If we know for 200 years they haven't been replenishing the soil, why are we getting food from there? Because that's not even food. So you got a yard, or you got friends with a yard, you got abandoned areas right in the hood where we could throw some seeds in there and grow something. And I could tell you that some of those abandoned areas, even in the city, have the original nutrients, because where the nutrients are really used and gone and washed down to the equator is what? Where they're farming every year, over and over and over and over. So everything is available to us and everything is in us. As long as we get the enemy out of the room and stop maybe looking at what we think they're doing, what are we doing? We got an enemy in ourselves. We got to outwit our own enemy. Now, if I go outside and stand on the soil, and I am in my mind a superconductor, let's break down a superconductor. A superconductor is a device or a thing that can give away all of its energy and never lose any. It can give it all away. It's instantly right back. It's in superconductivity mode. Once you realize that you have the power to be in superconductivity mode, you don't lose. Like the thing about time, like Dr. Phil was saying, if you say, I want blah, 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 or I'm one today, I want to, you're in lack, limitation, not enoughness. You're lost in space and you can't get home because you feel that everything is outside of you. But if you start really studying the deep stuff, right, it's all in you. You're everything. We are everything. There's stars inside of you. There's galaxies inside of you. Most of your body is not even you. It's these different entities. You got
bacteria.
You got bacteria. You got mycelium. You got even viruses. Because all viruses, this whole thing, that's not bad. You got life. That is giving us life. Did I just say some bad words? I may have. I'm sorry.
Well, just be careful with that. Be careful with that way. You don't want to say that word too many times.
So my thing here is we sometimes come from the perspective of lost. What happened to us? What was done to us? My question is what are we doing to ourselves? What are you eating? What are you breathing? What are you emitting? So we got time. You take time and flip it backwards. You got emit. What are you emitting? And a lot of times what you're emitting is gossip. You're hearing something from somebody else, and then you go tell somebody else and tell somebody else. So now we're nosy and newsy. And most of it is about disempowerment. We're speaking the language of disempowerment. Here at Elevation Foundation, we say that you must become who you are right now in yourself. You got to get full of yourself. And because, most of our conversations, you meet somebody, right? Now, we're supposed to be getting grounded when we meet each other, right? You and I, we're going to find some level ground. But if you and I are in woundology mode, right? We're voting as victocrats. We talk about all what's happening, what they doing. guess what? You're done. And that's going to be probably your best friend because both of y'all can sit there and be wounded together. You see, now that's how you ended up with wounded knee, wounded leg, wounded belly. You see,
trauma bonding.
You got trauma bonds, you got drama bonds. I mean, it just goes on and on. If you would like to elect and select that from the galaxy, because it's all there, it's in chaos. You are choosing what is coming through. Now, first, you got to get rid of some of the stuff that you got. That's not even yours. This luggage, man. Where'd you get this luggage? They asked you at the airport. Are you carrying somebody else's luggage? Somebody put something. So, you know, your body's a ship. You're a vehicle, right? You're a vessel. What kind of vessel do you have? Is it a love boat? Is it a canoe? Do you have a cargo boat? Some people think they on a love ship, but they got so much cargo from other relations and other relationships. They get into a relationship. They start talking about how the other relationships fail and what they don't want to happen. And they are now magnifying and quantifying something directly to themselves. And it becomes instantaneous because we are made of crystals. And those crystals are listening to the environment. Our cells are listening to the environment. Your genes are not just unfolding. Your genes are listening to what? You are the genie. You are the generator. And if your thought process is all about lack, loss, oh, we black, and you know what they do to black people, and you know, see, oh boy, it's racism, it's this-ism, you're done. Forget it. Go on, eat you a nice chicken sandwich. You know what I'm saying? And just it's okay.
Hey, take it easy on the chicken sandwich.
See, I didn't say it was anything wrong. See, that's like some guilt. If you can do the transmutation on chicken, right? You know you're the bomb now. You can do it. Then you can transmute that chicken. That's why you got some folks. You know, some folks say, well, you can't work with him. You know, Dr. B. You know, he eat pork chops. I said, listen. That dude put a roof on my house better than anybody else. He can eat pork chops and do whatever, as long as he can actually do what he does. Because some of us, we realize that we are alchemists. You can create something out of nothing, like grandma. Grandma, I go in her house, she don't have nothing. 10 minutes later, she got a whole big thing of food like Thanksgiving. How is she doing that? She's manifesting because she doesn't live in lack. She doesn't live in limitation. We don't, you know, when we sit up and study all the stuff that was done to us. You know, like I told somebody one day, they said, man, you know, there's another slave movie come. I said, I'm not watching no more slave movies. You see, I'm not saying it didn't happen. And I don't even know if it happened the way they said it happened, because it's, you got to be careful. And like, even when we say, well, I'm an African. Well, I mean, I'd like to go past that. What was we before that? You see, we are all part of the mycelium network. See, when you get down to this, it gets deep. It connects everything. It's everywhere. It's nowhere that it's not. It's omnipresent. It's in the water. It's in the air. Your thoughts are traveling faster than light, faster than sound, faster than anything about how you see your world. How are you painting your picture? You're an artist. So if you wake up in the morning and you don't tune up your violin, you don't tune up your guitar, you're going to be out of tune. Now imagine all day you're out of tune. You're eating food that's out of tune. You're hanging with people that are out of tune. We got a terrible orchestra here. See, this is a crash course in killing ourselves. So we are eating ourselves, thinking ourselves, and talking ourselves to death about what? If I step outside and I touch the earth, I couldn't care if there's not one mineral. Well, I don't know where there is a place where there's no minerals. If I choose to let that energy from Ra come down through the top of my head, right? Go right straight down through the vagus nerve. If I hit that pineal and let the pinealine oil drip down on my tree of life, and I let that energy go straight into my feet, and she will send a message back, and I will be full. I will be full of what it is that I'm funking for. How am I living? So if you look at all the problems, so like when I used to, when I was the big time record producer, I didn't go to the studio, listen to the radio. I never listened to I don't know what's on. They said, well, you gotta give them what they want. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what people want. People don't know what they want. People are like sheep. You know what I'm saying? They being told what to want, what to desire, what's new, what's hot. You have to be an indivisible individual. You got to get yourself together right now and be nothing for a minute. I tell people, I say, well, you think you control your thoughts, don't you? You know, we do these classes. People say, yeah, I control my thoughts. I'm conscious. I meditate. I say, all right, for the next 7 seconds, don't think about anything at all. Folks is looking around. I said, well, did it work? Most folks can't do it because they start thinking of how not to think. If I ask somebody, how do you feel? And they say, how do you feel right now? They say, oh, okay, let me think about that. You got to think about how you feel. That's artificial intelligence. Because you're looking for words and you want to make it sound good. And I ask you, what do you want? What do you desire in the world? Oh, well, you know, I want to help save the world. Now, you know, you ain't about to save no world. You can't save your world because your mind is being taken over by entities from you. Never mind the stuff outside. Never mind what they got going on in the country, what they said on the 6 o'clock news that's hanging your ass to death. That's what's important is who you are in this moment. And tonight, when you go rest, when you wake back up, you're brand new. For the first 11, 12 seconds, you don't know if you was a stick. You don't know if you was a ladybug. You don't know what you are, but you gather all your stuff together really quickly. So imagine you can stop and take a second and breathe or do whatever exercise or whatever discipline you have to get balanced and get what they call grounded. This is not just earth grounded. It means to have a strong foundation that you stand for. And step out of who you were yesterday, because we're living in Pastville. We time travel to the past all the time. We get more excited about the past than we do than the right now. And the right now is happening, which I call to now, has never happened before. Us four together right here has never happened before. I didn't know when brother called me today what was going to happen. He said, well, you know Rod Hayes. I said, yeah, I know of him. I don't really know his work. Oh, well, you know Dr. Valentine. Well, yeah, I know Dr. Valentine now. You know, lights used to go off on Crenshaw Boulevard when we all finished talking at the Good Life, because that was a place where there was a ley line, right? There's these ley lines on the planet where things actually happen. And, you know, I'm going to say this real quick. You know, I went to Sedona. A group of us went to Sedona. This was where all the, you know, the vortexes was at. I didn't feel nothing. We was there for like days. I said, I don't feel nothing. Well, this is the great vortex of the vortexes of vortexes. And I said, I don't feel anything. I got back to LA a week later. Stood on Pico Boulevard. And guess what? Vortex opens. Wait a minute. It ain't in Sedona. It's who I am. I create the vortex. Damn. You have to be the superconductor. You have to be open to it. You have to realize it, but you got to let yesterday go and let all the conscious knowledge that you think you know, right? And gather something brand new as of today. Didn't they say the other day, the earth is spinning faster than ever? They said, what? June 29th? They can't even hardly find the North Pole. Yeah. You see, things are shifting. This ain't the same place. You're not in the same place. You're not on the same planet. That sun don't look the same, does it? You think that's the same sun? I think they change it out every few years. The moon too. You see, but what you can look at is what can you control? Can you control your mouth? Can you control your mind? Can you control what you're listening to? Can you control what you're eating and what you're not eating? Okay, if I choose to step on the soil and say that this soil is going to replenish me, I might eat some dirt. It's going to have what I say, because I am a superconductor conducting myself in such a way where I am open to the very best. And those opportunities are with us every moment once we get out of drama and trauma and all of that pain and misery that we can't fix. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm saying that right now you got to find a place of peace, because if you don't do it now in 2020, when we're in the photon band, do you know what that means? We're in the photon band. Look it up. Every 13,000 years, we go through this band of biophoton light that's coming like crazy. Then we got Sirius, the Earth, the Sun, the Moon, and our solar plexus is in alignment in 2022. That's why Baba Dick Gregory told me. He said, look, man, you're going to have to be ready for 2019. He said, because things is going to change. And you're going to have to become responsible for yourself, because this opening is going to happen where we can all walk through. But you got to be ready to let go of the stories, the myths, even your own, what I call, you know, energetic ghosts from the past, because they haunt you and they hungry and they eat you alive. Get new, get now. That's what we're focusing on here at Elevation Foundation, is how to be new. and how to gain some things that you can actually use every day and make it simple.
Hey, I want to drop a couple book references that help the people that's watching. So some of the things that we talking about, I'm gonna give a couple of good books. One is called Awakening the Genie in Your Subconscious Mind. Another one is Moving Through Timelines. Another one is called Awakening Your Telecult Powers. Then you have Napoleon Hill has one called Outwitting the Devil. This all ties back to what Dr. B. Sirius was just talking about. All of this is teaching you how to get the control of what you're thinking about, getting control of the self, understanding how to use this thing we call a brain. They didn't give us no user's manual, but fortunately, before this generation was born, they had some smart people that wrote some studies down that gives us an insight into how to control our brain, how to use our brain more so than control it. Because the brain is, the mind itself is Sakomao. They call it Sakomao, monkey mind. It's erratic and it's very difficult to tame if you don't know the processes and the techniques. So I want to drop those book references in right quick while we was talking about it to give somebody some titles to look into as references to this material.
Indeed. I'm gonna get some Q&A from the people. Wow, I'm amazed at this show. I'm amazed at the show. This is a magnificent show, family. We're gonna get to some Q&A. Give you some questions. We got Dr. Valentine.
Before you go to Q&A, you got to let Dr. Valentine address that last topic.
Oh, did you want to add on? Did you want to add on to that? Did you want to add on to that? I'm sorry.
Well, no problem. What I can tell you is that if we do need a practical solution for nutrition based upon the lacking thereof in the foods that we have, we found here at the university a solution that would help. And we went through the testing for a year. I did my pendulum analysis over it and came up with a very high reading. And that product is what we talk about, Juice Plus. In that particular product, the fruits, vegetables, and berries are actually grown on family farms that do have very enriched soils. It has over 40 to 45 medical tests that were run independently of the company, and it has a higher rating than the FDA's organic reading, the little green and white circular tab that you see on food when you're buying organic foods. It has a higher classification called NSF, or National Safety Foundation. And that particular purification monitoring process, if one or two of the products that they're bringing to it is found wanting, the entire batch that was shipped in that day is eliminated. So if you do want nutrition that can help to compensate for what we don't have in the foods, and this is again a practical suggestion for those who are interested, they can get in contact with our university. I guess at the end of this particular broadcast, we all can actually say give our contact numbers. But the Juice Plus itself has the nutrition, and I know I'm not supposed to be saying this, but this is an emergency. And what you want to do is to get materials that can get directly into the bloodstream. The enzymic content of these capsules that have this fruit, vegetables, berries, as well as the omegas, which is the omegas 3, 6, and 9, the enzymic content is up to 99%, which means that the food is virtually live. So if you want to compensate for what you know you're not getting in today's food from farms that are actually found around the world and most people don't know about, the food that is, the products that are used, the food that are used are ripened on the vine. Today, the food that you get in certain places where they sell so-called foods that are organic, these foods are not ripened on the vine. And most people don't know that 75 to 80% of the nutrients are actually shot into the fruit, the leaf, the vegetable at the point of ripening. So most of the time, in order to get it to market, they will pick it before it's ripe and they ripe it on the shelf. So that's why there's very few nutrients in the products that you're eating today. And Juice Plus, essentially, the formula was put together by one of my herbal teachers, Dr. Humberto Santillo. And he put together a formula that helped to save his father, who was destined to die in 3 weeks from esophageal cancer. He began feeding his father this particular formula through the rectum, and his father lived for 3 extra years as a result. So this has been what it is. If you know anything about me and how I lecture for 11 and 12 hours, I beat my record I think it was in California out there with you, Dr. Sirius, with Bobby Hemmett and myself. I think I hold the record there for 18 hours of straight talking. And the thing about it is that there's the Juice Plus that has helped me to do this. And I'm talking about this from personal experience. So if you are interested in it, you'll find that this is the best compensatory nutrition because we're at war right now. We cannot have our fluffy little gardens to grow because if you're growing it on the outside and you don't have it in a terrarium, all of the chemtrails are actually settling on your food anyway. So you have to understand that the places that Juice Plus picks their foods from, they have these very secured farms, which are not industrial farms. They're family-owned farms, Black-owned farms, white-owned farms, family farms that they get their materials from. So I suggest that if you are interested in compensating, get in contact with me, and I will definitely put you straight to the people that will help you to help your family. One more thing. If you do decide as a parent to get a Juice Plus for yourself, your child, if 4 years in age and over, and if your child is in college, can actually get that Juice Plus for free for 4 years. Okay, that's how serious the company was. Like I said, I vetted them for a year before I began speaking about them, and I can actually say that this company is valid.
Indeed. Let's get to